Hello and welcome to Rule of Three's video review for Final Fantasy XIV, a Realm Reborn, a MMORPG from Square Enix for the PlayStation 3 and PC. With me today are Synyster Dreamer. How are you doing today?
Doing well.
All right, and Lizzie Manan. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome. So, since this is the 14th game, well, actually, God knows how many, like 17, 18 of them. I don't want to go through. I don't want to go through them all.
With all the offshoots and everything, it's
yeah.
closer to like 20, 25.
Yeah, I don't want to count them all right now. But since it's a franchise, I like going into our history with the franchise. I have played every single Final Fantasy ever released, and I haven't really hated any of them. Liked more than others, been disappointed by them, but I've never gotten to that point where this is a terrible Final Fantasy. I've thought they've all had some redeeming quality and had some enjoyment to it. Lizzie?
I have played 1 through 3, 5, 7 through 14. I also haven't really found anything that I necessarily hate about a game, with the exception of Final Fantasy II's little skill-up system bullcrap thing that I hated.
All right, Synyster?
I've played a little bit of 7 and about half of 10. That's about it.
Wow.
Yes, I'm the one that's back here in the corner going, yeah, I know Final Fantasy, but I haven't played the games much. Learned it from everybody else.
That's okay. I'll just spoil every one of them later on for you. Next time I see you. All the endings. So anyway, let's get into this. So this is an MMO. Just as a warning, this review will probably go a little longer than some of the others because there's a lot. So let's start off with character creation and kind of the character that you play as. Storyline of the game first. So this takes place 5 years, or how many years after?
5 years after the
5 years.
first 14.
Yes, this takes 5 years after the first 14, and that's straight and also another thing, I was the only one here who played the original 14 when it was originally released, and it was a piece of crap.
I played the open beta.
That doesn't count. I played it on release and paid for a month, and I only played 5 days of it. So anyway, the storyline takes place right after that, 5 years after that. Bahamut has been unleashed. He pretty much destroyed the world, and 5 years have passed, and it's kind of like all the people of Eurasia are trying to rebuild what they lost, but now they have elder primals that are being unleashed by these beast tribes like Ifrit, Garuda, Titan. Bahamut's gone missing. Nobody knows what the heck happened to him. You have a group known as the Garland Empire, who are from the mainland, because Eurasia is actually a little island, that have come to Eurasia because Eurasia has is rich in what is called Aether, which is basically, what allows them to do magic and all sorts of fun things.
It's like the life stream in Final Fantasy VII.
Exactly. So they're like Shinra and want to, use it to build weapons because they're very highly advanced and have magitech armor and awesomeness and gun blades and goodness. So anyways, I want my gun halberd. Sorry, getting off track there. So what else? You're this random character that is basically chosen by destiny as to become a warrior of light, and you travel the world of Eurasia trying to save it from as many possible bad things that can possibly happen to this area, because everything that can go wrong in this area has gone wrong.
Yes.
And
random adventurer trying to stop stuff.
Yeah. So with that, the storyline for this is really good. This is probably one of the best Final Fantasy storylines that have come out in a while, in my opinion. It feels very Final Fantasy, which is very good compared to some of the newer ones that I felt the storyline was a little bit more lacking.
Yeah, for someone who, like me, from off in the corner is like, okay, Final Fantasy, yeah, it's great, whatnot. Sounds fun. This game I've really, really enjoyed. I've liked it since I got into beta. The storyline has its slight slow points, but then picks up again. And starts slowing down, picks up again. Slows down, picks up again. It's like, stop putting me on the edge of my seat! But overall, the storyline I'm quite impressed with.
Lizzie?
Yeah, it definitely has had some slow points going through it, but overall it's been very captivating, and it is, like you said, it's one of the better Final Fantasy stories, especially since the last few stories have been considerably weak.
Stupid 13. Not to say I don't like 13. 13 has its own things with it. So anyway,
I think 12 was the worst story.
Yeah, 12 was, I think, but I don't want to get into the which one's better than which.
Let's not get sidetracked.
Let's not get sidetracked. But there's also a bunch of cameo kind of things in this as well, which also pays off from like the previous Final Fantasies, like with move names and other things. All right, so that's enough with the storyline. So characters. So at the beginning of the game, you do like any MMO, you choose a race and you choose the class. Now, the nice thing about this is your race is permanent. Your class is not. You have the ability to get every profession and every class in this game and every gathering skill and change them on the fly.
You can do everything!
Yeah. If you played Final Fantasy 11, it's sort of like, it's, you know, that same kind of idea of you can be everything, but you can only be one at one time. You can't be, you know, be everything at once.
Right, and they made it so that instead of having to go to your Mog house to change your jobs, you can do it on the field.
Yes, because all it is based on is whatever weapon you have in your main hand. That is what dictates what class you are.
Yep, you just switch and you just have a cooldown to wait for everything to get ready to go, but you can just do it right there.
Yep. As you like any MMORPG, you level up by fighting monsters, doing quests. There's other things that we'll talk about in a minute that kind of help this a little bit more. Once you hit level 10 in every level, or 2 levels after that, you get an ability point, which you put into your stats. And yeah, I like the freedom of this game with its classes. I thought, you know, I always liked the idea of being able to play as everything on one character. Because, you know, say I started off as, you know, a pugilist or a lancer, you know, I've decided, you know, I want to be a healer. I don't have to create a new character and start from, you know, scratch on that one with gathering professions and everything. I just equip a staff, and now I'm a healer or a mage, and I just start, you know, I still start from level 1, but I have, you know, the gear and items and everything I've already accumulated to, you know, make it a little easier on my life.
Yeah, you're not starting off, oh, I'm going to do a Marauder. Wait, I want to do, you know, a Thaumaturge. Well, I don't have to switch towns or whatever really that much. You just, oh, okay, go over, get the thing, and then go wherever. You don't have to go halfway across the country or whatever. Or start off in some random hole in the ground.
Well, what it is if you want to switch jobs, you can just do it. You don't have to... Because even if you make new characters on, like, World of Warcraft or whatever, you still have your other professions and your other characters who could supply what you need to that new character. But with this, you don't have to worry about mailing yourself a bunch of items. And I think it just cuts out that unnecessary step.
Yeah.
Makes things a lot easier.
Oh, it's more convenient.
Definitely convenience.
Okay, and the last thing for characters is at certain levels, you start as a base class, you will, at level 30 and level 15 of a secondary job, because you have to level 2 of them at some point, you get what's called a job, which is basically a very streamlined, like DPS tank healer kind of position, whereas the classes kind of can do everything a little bit. These are what you do as like the defined role, so like monk, lancer, white mage, black mage. They're all jobs that do a little bit more damage, have a little less... what's the word I'm looking for?
Versatility?
Versatility, thank you. But make up with that with being really good at what they do.
Yeah, they're more of a specialization, so it's like, okay, you wanted to go tank, so you need this class at 30, this class at 15. Okay, here's your tank. You can be a paladin or a warrior. Depends on if you want to be sword and board or two-handed weapon. Then you can go to your DPS, and here's this and that, and so forth and so on. I actually enjoy that.
Yeah, I like the classes versus jobs. I thought that was, once again, another kind of different but smart move on their part. Lizzie, anything on jobs you want to say?
You guys pretty much covered it all. They're nice to have.
Yeah. Okay, so next thing I want to go into is kind of the questing. So other than you have story missions which proceed or progress the storyline, and you have just normal quests, and then you have 2 other kind of questing things that you can do. One is called love quests, which are kind of like dailies, but not really, You can do like gathering skills, tradecraft, or actual fighting missions to level up your character classes. You get so many a day, which is why they're kind of like dailies, but they don't award like the greatest amount of experience points in my opinion, and they're only a certain they're all the same. They don't. It's basically just repeatables.
Well, it's more or less to fill in spots where it's like, okay, I've done all the quests in town, but I can't proceed to the next area because I'm not high enough level, or I don't feel comfortable enough that you can do it just to kind of pop yourself to the next level, or just fill the hole.
Yeah, they're definitely filler quests.
Yeah, they're not great for XP at all. They're okay if you want to do the crafting ones, because if you craft a high quality item as opposed to a normal quality item, you do get an extra like 200% on top of the normal reward, so you end up with 300% of XP total.
Which is amazing.
So it does help get your crafting up faster, and they're definitely needed for crafting.
Crafting and gathering, I think, are what they're primarily for.
The gathering ones are better for getting you money than they are for XP. And then the ones for your Disciples of Magic and your Disciples of War are just terrible, and I mean, I know why they exist, but they're terrible.
Yeah. So the other type of kind of questing you can do, which is by far the easiest way to level and what everybody does in the game that I've seen, are what are called fates. Fates are basically large public events that spawn on the map and give a crap ton of experience points. Some of them are very interesting and very fun.
And depending on the style of fate, depends on the EXP, because if you get a rarer fate that pops up, the higher the XP you'll get.
Yeah.
But ones that you usually see more often, you get about the same.
As a quest.
How it actually works is there's the rare ones that Synyster was talking about, which give you about the same XP as 2 to 3 normal fates, but they also take 2 to 3 times longer to complete because these bosses have a ridiculous amount of health. But the way that the XP works on other ones, if you just look at the rewards, sometimes you'll feel like, well, why do I only get 5,000 XP for this one, but if I do this other one, I get 10,000. That's not fair. Neither one of them is rare. If it's a boss fate, you will get a much higher amount of XP than if it's a go kill all of these things fate. Because the ones where you just have to do mass murder, you get more XP from killing, so it ends up evening out a bit.
Yeah. But I do like fates. I can't wait for the 13-3 fate to start. That and my Shantoto fate. I want my Shantoto!
We need to hurry and get to 50 so we can do all of them.
Yes, and there's also a couple of special fates. I want to hurry and touch on those because I've seen videos and I've actually seen one of them go on now. And that is Behemoth and Odin. These are 2 super rare fates that give super awesome gear and are terribly difficult. I don't think anybody on any server has finished either one.
I think we've had some. I think I heard somebody has taken down Odin, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
Also, the gear they drop is okay. It's just all really cool looking.
Yes, that's what I meant by amazing. I wanted my Odin sword. But anyway, they're very difficult, and Odin's is ridiculously hard. And I've seen the Behemoth one go on. I was actually in the area when that happened on our server, luckily. And I watched it, and that also looks intense. I didn't take part because I would have died instantly.
I was in the middle of a fate party when Behemoth was going on, so I didn't take the time to go over and watch it. I was too busy trying to level.
Yeah, I watched it. It was terrifying. I can't wait for that. So anyway, that's Fates. Next thing I want to go into are dungeons and instances stuff. So there are a total of, I forget, 10 or 12 dungeons. Feels like more. Anyway, there's a lot of dungeons. And there's also these things called... what are the primal fights called?
Trials.
Trials, thank you. And trials, they're 2 different things. So dungeons are 4-man groups until a later game when you can do some 8-man groups. And they're your typical dungeons. They do get progressively harder as you go along, and they feel very rewarding once you finish them, which is not something I have felt in a long time. So it's very nice to see that come back a little bit. You guys on at least the instance dungeons?
As far as the whole progressively harder thing, what you will find out as soon as we run Stone Virgil with you is that it feels that way until you get to Stone Virgil, and then suddenly you go from progressively harder to this massive spike to this thing's next to impossible, and I don't know about after that, but Stone Vigil sucks.
Well, did you do the Sunken Temple yet?
Yes.
No,
No?
Second Temple's the only one we haven't done. We did Cutter's Cry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Stone. There's another little, like, if we were to go from Hawk Manor to do that one. Yeah, apparently it's kind of like the same jump almost if you just go straight into it. So they like spiking it. Anyway, Synyster, sorry I cut you off.
Nah, I couldn't remember which dungeons were which, because it's just like, okay, doing dungeons, going, okay. Sitting as a tank, everything just blurs together, because you're, okay, go in, aggro everything, try to hold my ground.
But your opinion on the dungeons? Anything you want to say on it?
Besides the fact that Stone Virgil can go suck balls.
All right. And then the other one, like I said, are the trials. These are, once again, 4-man groups until late game when you can do, 8-man. But these tend to be, fighting the different primals, Garuda, Titan, Ifrit. There's also a couple of, like, small battle ones you can do, but nobody cares about those because everybody wants to just fight the primals. The primal fights are awesome. If you've been watching the 14 Let's Play, I believe the Ifrit one should be up soon. But like later on, we just did Titan a couple of weeks ago, and that one was also, really fun but really hard. And I felt really good when we took him down. And we haven't got to Garuda yet, but I love these fights. They're fun, and they're in just the music's awesome too. That's something
they're very interesting, and they've got interesting game mechanics that just keep you on your toes.
Well, I feel like for game mechanics, they actually have very similar ones between them. I mean, for the most part, every fight's just going to be move out of the red circles, whatever. But with the thing that sets the primals aside from other bosses is their limit breaks. They are the only bosses that have limit breaks. And if you don't destroy whatever their special body part is, they will one-shot your entire group.
Which brings us to limit breakers. These things are accessed when you're in a group, and limit breakers are basically super overpowered moves that you can do on bosses. There's four of them. There's the tanking one, which increases everybody's defense. There's a healing one, which heals everybody. So I guess there's only 3.
There's 3.
3. And then there's a DPS one, there's 4. There's a DPS one that, does a single target one, and then there's a mage one that does AoE damage. 4. I forgot about Meteor.
Yeah, because Black
Mage Summoner have a special one. So anyway, you build up limit break by, beating down monsters or the boss, and once you get to, you have a little bar. Once that's filled up, you just tell somebody to pop it, and whatever class it is, they'll pop whatever one they have. Most of the time you pop the DPS one because so far it's been the most useful.
It takes a nice chunk of health out of the boss.
Yeah, it's not until later on that you start popping no, it pretty much switches between melee DPS and range DPS. It depends on whether you need a single target on the boss or AoE.
Yeah. I like the limit break system. I thought that was a really nice touch, just because it feels Final Fantasy with the limit breaker.
It's a fun little mechanic for if you know Final Fantasy, and it's just limit break. I get it.
Yeah. Lizzie, anything?
They're definitely super useful. There's times where we wouldn't have beat bosses if it wasn't for limit break. And yeah, I mean, it's a direct link to Final Fantasy VII, which is my favorite. So it was also my first. So that's probably why it's my favorite. Other than it has a really good story.
All right, and the last thing I want to talk about, because this review's gone on way too long, is crafting. We've kind of touched about, like I said, you can be in all the crafting, but the crafting in this game is a little bit more involved than other crafting systems, because as you're crafting, you're going to notice 2 bars. You have what's called the progress bar and the quality bar. The progress bar is how close you are to actually completing the item. The quality bar depends, that's what depends on if you just get a regular item or a high quality item. And high quality is always better because it's more useful and has more stats and stuff. And to do this, you have to use different moves that you accumulate as you level your crafting class, but you have to have enough crafting points in order to use said move. So it becomes a real balancing act of trying to get your quality up and finish it, because you also only get so many moves before it breaks and you actually lose your item completely and you have to start from scratch. So it's a real balancing act, and I really enjoy the crafting system. I'm actually highly addicted to it. I have problems stopping once I start, just because I enjoy just watching that bar and trying to get that high quality item.
Any other information, I'll just leave to Lizzie.
Yeah, you don't do crafting.
He's done very, very little.
I've just started, and it's like, okay, I'll get to it at some point. I'm a finisher. I want to finish leveling, then I'll go do crafting.
Lizzie?
I have also sunk many, many hours into crafting. It's relaxing for me. But yeah, like you said, it's you're juggling all these things. There's the durability, which is how many moves you have to finish it. And there's abilities that refresh the durability on an item. You have to try to get the quality up as high as possible while still having enough durability to finish the item. And you also want a time when you up the quality to be when the status of the item is good, or preferably excellent, but excellent hardly ever shows up. And if it's poor, you want to just advance the progress over the quantity. But there's so much you have to pay attention to and keep in mind, and I have so many moves that I just have to keep juggling between, and each one helps other ones. Like there's some that they consume CP, but then there's others that give you CP back. CP is crafting points. And yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's one of the brighter crafting systems once you get into it a little bit more. So that's it. Anything else you guys want to add?
Don't think so. I'm trying to think if there was anything, but I don't think there is.
I think the only thing we didn't go over were hunting logs.
Okay, let's turn and touch on hunting logs, because that's very simple. Basically, depending on what class you're playing as, you get what's called a hunting log. You kill monsters, and it fills out the hunting log. There are certain monsters per class, and you just kill the one, you get super XP. Whenever you finish what's called a rank of a hunting log, you get a lot of experience points, and it opens up the next level of hunting log. It's great for, once again, filler XP. You guys want to add anything?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a boost to get you what XP you need to get. If your story quest is 41 and you're level 40, just finish your hunting log and you should get your level.
Yeah. And there's still tons of things we didn't talk about. I mean, there's Grand Company. There's a lot to this game, but
if anything, we'd have to make this a two-parter.
Yeah, but like I said, we gotta wrap this up, because this, like I said, told you it was going to be a long one. There's just a lot to MMOs, and it's hard to cover everything. So that's it for this one. So here, let's do ratings. So here at Roller 3, we do not use a point system, because I don't like using numbers. They hurt my head. Instead, we use a buy, rent, pass system, because I find it more useful. Buy means we think it's worth the full price of the game. You should buy it. The developers did a great job. It's worth, the $60, $40, $50, whatever they, asked for on the release. They deserve that money. It's just that fun and enjoyable. A rent is twofold. The game was okay. We did have some fun with it, but it's not quite to where we would pay, this full price for the game. Maybe rent it from Gamefly, Redbox, or whatever, or, wait for it to go on sale or buy a used copy or something like that to save a little bit of money, but it's not quite to that pay full price level yet. Pass means the game should just not exist. It's a waste of time. I'm also adding another layer to this, which is sub and not sub, because this is MMO. This does require your monthly sub. So if we say like buy and sub, we think it's worth the price of the game and worth the subscription. If we say buy and not sub, it's worth buying, but you also may not. It's not worth subbing to. So it can be kind of either or. So you'll probably get like a rent sub or buy sub or something, but we'll explain things when we actually give a rating. I'll go first. I give this game a buy and a sub. I haven't had this much fun in an MMO in years, not since BC.
World of Warcraft, Burning Crusade.
Yeah, BC, wow. That was the last fun I've had in an MMO in a long time. And this has got me kind of back to that level of enjoyment. So I think it's worth every penny. I think they really did a great job with this one. Lizzie?
I also have to give it a buy and a sub. I also haven't had this much fun in an MMO for a very, very long time. And yeah, no, Yoshi P and his team have just they took the original game, they completely changed it, and it's amazing.
Synyster?
And coming from the guy who, sitting over here in the corner of, okay, yeah, I don't play much. I was kind of skeptical at first, but I'm giving it a buy and a sub because once I got my hands on playing, I enjoy this game. And for Final Fantasy games, I'm kind of like, they're okay. But I'm loving this game and just how it is.
Yeah, this is one of those games to where, if you watch it, it's, it looks interesting. But once you play, this game is very addicting and it's very fun, especially once you get past, to your first dungeons and primal fights. The game just picks up and is amazing. So there you have it. You have 3 buys and subs for Final Fantasy: A Realm Reborn. Something that, like I said, when this game was announced and first put out, I didn't think it would, be worth the subscription. But oh dear Lord, they somehow made me happy with an MMO. I didn't think they would do it. So that's it. Also, since this is the Final Fantasy XIV review, make sure to check out Final Fantasy XIV Let's Play Tales of Erosia that we do. It gives you some more kind of insider of what the game actually looks like. Plus, it has some fun conversation pieces every now and then.
Some insider info, just a lot of us sitting there talking while we play and derp around.
Yes, lots of derping. So, if you have time, check it out. Like I said, if you're kind of on the fence of this, it, may not, look interesting, but trust me, we have a blast playing it, which is why we do the Let's Play. Make sure to leave comments below. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like us on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. And next week will be Beyond Two Souls. That's the next game that we'll be reviewing. And that's it for this one. So thanks for listening, everybody, and always remember to trust in the rule of 3.